Okay, so welcome everybody, and I don't have any specific announcements beyond what's on the agenda. Does anybody have any other announcements that they want to make?
Not of great importance.
Okay. I have a copy of the minutes that I distributed to everybody. That was the amended copy from April that Julie also sent to everybody. It's been around a bit.
Can we check in with Julie? Julie, can you hear us? We can see you, but you are on mute.
She's on mute.
Yep. Yes.
Oh, okay. It looked like you were working on some technical difficulties. So
yeah, I think we've resolved it. Thank you, Patrick. I was trying to get the minutes, the Word document on the same screen. I'm there
all
now.
right, so you're all set. Okay, thank you.
I'm all set.
Is there any need for me to share? I can share them on the screen if you'd like, or if you'd like to speak to them, Julie. Any comments about it? They were amended.
Yeah, I sent them to you. I think only 2 people commented. So I had put in those edits and sent them over to you, and that went out to the committee, and I haven't received any other comments.
That's good.
I reviewed them and I have no comments.
Sorry, Sharon?
I reviewed them, but I have no comments.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, so now we have a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second that.
Somebody second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing nothing. All those in favor of approving?
Yeah.
Any nays? So moved. Okay.
So can I just say something? Karen,
Yes.
I'm taking the minutes for today, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, just in case we're both doing it. Got right. Okay.
The next meeting date that we got on the schedule is for June 17th, which is a Thursday meeting at the same time, 3:30 to 5:30. Is there any?
I have a question about that.
Okay.
Are we going to continue to meet in Zoom, or are we going to meet in person? Are we going to do some combination?
I think in June we're going to meet on Zoom, but beyond that, I think I got the impression, although I'm not, I asked Kate about this the other day, whether there was any, or I asked Brad about this too. And
Yeah.
it's not clear yet. They haven't reverted back to the other schedule. I think in September, maybe we'll be back in an in-person type thing. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think we might want to think about that town-wide, whether we want to do that or not. But as far as purpose of scheduling our next meeting, that's enough.
I
Right.
think it's a state requirement that everybody meet in person and only one can call in remotely.
Oh, is it state? I thought it was the town. It's the state.
I thought it was. And right now we're working on COVID rules that they may go back to normal. But I thought it was state. I mean, I could be wrong there.
Well, I think for the June meeting, I'm anticipating at least that it's going to be another virtual meeting. I hope that the July meeting is too, because I'm going to be in Maine. But okay.
So June 17th was the date, Doug?
Yes, June 17th, 3:30 to 5:30.
Okay, thank you.
And
July.
that will probably be the 3rd Thursday in July. What is that date?
I think the 22nd.
Oh,
Third?
it's actually the 15th. 15th.
Was it the 15th?
Yeah, the 15th. Okay.
Oh.
And I believe that as of the next meeting in June, Jerry, are you going to take the next meeting, the leadership of it?
Yes, I think that the formal switchover, however formal that is, I think that occurs after town meeting. So my understanding is
So
you currently occupy the office until town meeting.
okay, very good. So then the 17th will be your meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
The 15th.
That's a July.
June 17th.
June 17th, but July 15th
Oh,
will
okay.
be the next one after that.
Okay.
So now let's go into our overview of Article 31, and Jake is here to give us some background. So Jake, why don't you take it over?
Sure thing. Yeah, let me, I believe all of you are quite familiar with this, so I will keep it at a pretty high level and we can dig into specifics, but I will run through our overall presentation, as long as everyone's good with that.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
I guess I'll go into presentation mode. If that works for me, come on. There we go. Okay, so I'll go through the brief overview of Article 31, and then I'm happy to jump into specific questions that you may already have based on your existing knowledge of it, or any questions you have in terms of the engagement that we've had so far on it, what we're hearing back from the community, et cetera. But the overview of this is just, I think it can be a little confusing because there's essentially two parts of this. The first part is we are asking for the home rule petition to go ahead and implement the bylaw, and then there's the actual bylaw language itself. So we have to get the home rule petition piece signed off by the legislature before we can actually implement the bylaw itself. So those are an important kind of piece of it, that there's kind of a two-step process here, and this article kind of wraps both of those together. So at the end of the day, the goal of Article 31 is we'll be prohibiting all fossil fuel infrastructure in new construction. So for all intents and purposes, most folks will have to move to all electric homes using heat pumps. I guess there's still the possibility that someone could use a biomass type system for heating if they decided to move in that direction, but fossil fuel infrastructure would not be allowed. So this really ties into our overall climate goals and the sustainable Concord roadmap and action plan that we pulled together. This is just one piece of help. Oh, I'm sorry. Did someone have a question? Sorry, I just got some feedback there. This is just one piece of us really building towards that, 80% reduction by 2050, specific to new construction. We have a lot of additional work to continue to do that, that all of you are working on in terms of energy efficiency and retrofits and all of the other work that needs to happen in our built environment, in addition to all of the other areas that are part of the plan in terms of transportation and renewables, and what the light plan is doing in terms of converting to 100% renewable energy by 2030. So in terms of why we need to take this action, it's terrific that we've got the light plant moving quickly towards carbon emissions free operations. And we've also been able to make significant reductions over, since 2008 in our overall emissions have decreased about 22%, largely thanks to the work that the light plant has been doing. And all of that is great, but even when we get to, even if we had 100% carbon-free electricity today, like our emissions would be down about a third. And so we have all of these fuels that we're using for our buildings, for transportation, that are going to continue to make us fall short of our longer term goals, and are going to make it really hard unless we take specific action, as you guys know. So a big part of that is obviously decarbonizing buildings, right? So they're the largest source of emissions, more than 60%. And so the solution is really, we need to electrify, right? Heat pumps are the most efficient technology. They're now widely available. They're cost effective. They work in cold climates now, so they're have a ton of benefits. And as you all know, you all know this as well, and you've been helping support a lot of residents in town transition to heat pumps and understand heat pump technology a bit better. So really, this is the opportunity, and in combination, obviously, with cleaning up the grid. Once you move to electrification, that operation, that heating and cooling is essentially carbon emissions free. So again, we have a lot of work to do on the renovation side, but for new construction, this article would go a long way to preventing us from putting in place fossil fuel infrastructure that'll be here for decades to come. And we really need to take action to ensure that we're not putting in place that infrastructure that is going to be much more costly to replace down the road. So this is just showing the progress from the light plant on moving towards carbon-free electricity.
Now we're not seeing your, we're just see your first slide that says town meeting 2021 Article 31.
So is that true? So everyone's only seeing the first slide? I've been talking through all these and no one's seeing the slides?
Yeah.
Progress. Oh, okay. I am seeing everything. Let me try this. And then let me do.
There you go.
I am so sorry. Why didn't you guys speak up earlier? Okay. So
yeah, there we go.
Here, let's just do that. So this was what I was walking through in terms of the goals and the roadmap. Let me see if I can, I'm just going to adjust this because I think it's going to be blocking people's views. I'm sorry, I'm not quite as sophisticated on Zoom compared to Teams, what I use for work. Okay, so we talked through the roadmap and the goals. This is showing, I was talking to the emissions reduction. So we've had a 22% reduction as of 2019, but the challenge is even if we went 100% carbon-free electricity, it's a third drop, right? So we need to take more action.
Is that when you say 100%, is that if CMLP was generating using 100% renewable energy source?
Correct. If CMLP, if like Concord residents and businesses were basically doing the same exact thing as they were in 2019, and we just made the light plant 100% emissions free through renewables and other emissions free sources, we'd only drop like another 10% in terms of the carbon reduction. Right.
What's the percentage of carbon-free electricity that the light plant is currently generating?
So that is what I thought I was sharing with you this whole time, or the last slide that I thought I was sharing. So this shows the percentage of the light plant's electricity that's either carbon-free, which is the green, or has carbon associated with it, which is the gray. So they're at around 62% as of last year.
Jake, question on one of your previous slides. Slide number 3, well, even that one, it shows waste energy. What's in that category?
Yes, so waste is, waste emissions are associated with basically landfilling. So there are emissions associated, like if you landfill organics, the breakdown process of organic waste in landfill releases methane.
Yeah.
And there's a certain calculation of, some landfills capture that and burn that methane for energy, others like flare it, others, are too old. So there's a whole calculation that goes into direct emissions associated with waste streams from a community.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And so, we need to take action across all of these, and transportation is another big piece, but the main point here is that the built environment is really where we need to focus to have the biggest benefit in the near term. Okay, so we talked about this. So again, just reinforcing that, particularly for folks who are less familiar with heat pump technology, they are practical, they are cost effective, and especially if you have clean electricity, you essentially can heat and cool your home emissions free with the technology. So, and I know the CSEC has helped support development of a lot of case studies, which I think are going to be super helpful and hopefully get a little bit more attention as we talk about this article, and get some more people going to those pages and looking at the case studies. Because I think anyone who might think that is considering new construction or in a position where they're thinking about it and they're a member of the community, they're probably going to ask, well, if they aren't aware of heat pumps, they're going to be asking, like, how does this work? And so those case studies are going to be super helpful.
Yeah.
And
How does the math work? Can you explain the math? I mean, 70%, what is the distribution of current CO2 or stationary? You said is 70% roughly, is that it?
So for buildings, it's for the stationary sources, it's 64.5% as of.
So is that what we're targeting here?
Yeah, so we're targeting buildings.
So what is the renewal rate then? I mean, there's not much space in Concord, so I'm not sure how does that work. I'm not sure how it works.
What do you mean by the renewal rate?
Well, I mean, aren't you trying to, if you're looking at new construction, what is the rate of new construction in Concord?
Yeah, so I don't have the stats on the rate of new construction.
On the order of 30 homes a year. It's around 30 homes a year or something.
Right, out of a total population of what? I mean, that's really what how fast is that going to happen, right?
Correct, right. So again, as I've tried to say, this is just one step, and we're addressing new construction because, again, we don't want this new infrastructure to be put in place that has a lifetime of decades. And we know, the other piece of this is we know that new construction homes that are built using these technologies like heat pumps, all electric homes, based on research that RMI, the Rocky Mountain Institute, has done, have actually lower upfront costs and lower operating costs. And this is an analysis that was customized for Concord. So there are benefits to the homeowner and when you build in this way, and we're preventing these emissions and future emissions from new buildings. This also does apply not only to homes, but also to new commercial construction. Again, we recognize that is one small piece of it, but we need to take action here and through existing homes. And existing homes and retrofits, it's a whole nother animal. It has its own challenges, as you guys know, and there are different tactics that we need to take to support the transformation of those existing buildings.
Does the definition of new construction include retrofitting if it's of a certain scale?
So the way that the way that the bylaw has been written, there is home rule petition portion of it, there is a mention of major renovations. However, the bylaw itself is focused on new construction. And I think the idea behind the, including major renovations in the home rule petition is to provide flexibility to the town to say, if we wanted to amend the bylaw, like let's assume all of this passes, and let's assume we get home rule petition from the legislature, we could go ahead and implement a new construction focused bylaw. And let's say that there's momentum and support for extending this to major renovations. And that would be defined, and it would have to be, the bylaw would have to be updated and amended. Then you could define that depending on how, what you wanted to structure. That could include various things. It could be, it could be a dollar value, it could be a percentage of the square footage of the property. And then you could potentially address renovations through that process. But the bylaw itself that we're kind of proposing in front of the town is focused on new construction only.
To some extent, some owner might say, if I do new construction, if I rebuild from scratch, I have to do fossil free, but so I'm not going to. I'm just going to totally gut rehab it and leave one wall or something like that. And I think the major renovation may cover those cases.
Right. I mean, that's potentially one unintended consequence of something like this, where, if someone feels that strongly about it, perhaps they might take a different approach with how they're handling a specific project. We would hope that wouldn't be the case, but it's certainly possible.
Is it possible that the builders of the property would be forced into situations where they had to have additional hearings with the building inspector to go through a vetting process as to whether something had to be done or not had to be done?
So I'm not sure I'm understanding your question. So if we're talking about the bylaw that's proposed for new construction, there is a exemption process, and basically there's
You have to go through that process then.
Yeah, and I'll get to I can talk through the exemption process if you want. Maybe we can work through to that. Does that make sense, Doug?
Sure.
Okay. So let me just jump back to where we were. So this is reiterating what I went through, that that the bylaw would establish all new construction be fossil fuel free. And the purpose is, to help support our greenhouse gas emissions, as well as other effects of air pollution, indoor air quality, which, I wasn't even aware of, some of the impacts of indoor cooking with gas and some of the effects that has on indoor air quality was something I wasn't kind of up to speed on. And I've been in the sustainability profession for a while, and thought I had a pretty good sense of some of this stuff, but it's interesting to see what's coming out in terms of the research on that. So this is the exemption piece. So let's talk through this, since Doug, you had a question on that. So if someone is seeking a building permit and they want an exemption, they will be able to appeal. And so the building inspection department will help enforce. And there'll be right now, this isn't specified who will be designated to resolve any appeals, but the town manager will essentially decide who will do that. And right now we have exemptions for backup generators, for commercial kitchens, for like portable propane appliances, and for affordable housing. And all of these exemptions came out of very detailed conversations that Alice Kaufman has done a lot of work on this over the years, and she and various others who've kind of been deeply involved in it have had a lot of different conversations with different stakeholders across the community. And these elements kind of came up, over and over again. And there's continuing to be debate about, like, why do you have these exemptions? And I think really the goal was to bring along some of the folks who have brought up some of these concerns. So there's these exemptions are already built in, and then there's the process that you would go through if you had a concern. If you're building a specific, like, let's say you're building a specific commercial building and new construction, and there's some like major heating requirement, or there's some specialized use that it's going to be really difficult to meet with non-fossil fuel applications. You could go through this process and essentially make the case that you need to have this infrastructure to meet this building need, and that would be evaluated.
Was affordable housing added on because of the concern that it would have an impact on the development of affordable housing?
It was added in because of feedback from the affordable housing community, in engagement that Alice and others had with them. And it wasn't, I think what I've struggled with personally is, we have the data and the analysis that says that this is actually more affordable for folks to operate, a home. Specifically, we think about homes, to operate a house that is, all electric. And so, you sort of think about, well, are we imposing a burden then on affordable housing owners or tenants that isn't being imposed on someone who went through this process and is building all electric, if the builder decided to go with fossil fuel infrastructure. And so, I struggle a little bit with that, but I think what we wanted to do was try and remove any barriers to kind of alignment with basically supporting this article. And what we've heard from the affordable housing community and what we've seen, I mean, there's actual examples of, there's an affordable house that was, I think it's in construction now, that is going to be all electric. And there's, I think, a lot of support for the spirit of this and working to implement all electric new construction and affordable housing going forward. But I think there was just a concern about, certain situations where maybe this would create a challenge. So we really, I think, wanted to address that and not make that be an issue that holds up getting this article passed.
Jake, can I ask about that?
Sure.
So I think some affordable units are with the like 40B, they'll put in a substantial number of units, like 12 units, and they'll make one or two of them affordable. So in that kind of situation, do all 12 get to have fossil fuel because one or two of the units fall under an affordable umbrella?
That's a really good question, and I don't think I can answer that right now. I'm gonna have to go back and ask and see if I can get some clarification on that. But I think it's a really good question, because obviously the goal would be to have all of it built all electric, or worst case scenario to have some of those units. I don't think it would make sense to have part of the units be fossil fueled and others not be, but that's a good comment. I'll circle back and see if I can get an answer for you.
There's another thought that I have, and I know there was discussion earlier about hot water heating for places that had a high demand for hot water, or medical buildings, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And it isn't on your exemption list. Has that been
It is actually still, it is an exemption. It wasn't listed here, but there is an exemption for, and I'm gonna pull up the article right now just so I can make sure I capture that.
Now, these exemptions are all automatic. You don't have to have a special hearing for them. Is that right?
Correct. That is right. So there is an exemption for producing potable or domestic hot water from centralized hot water systems in buildings with floor areas of at least 10,000 square feet, provided that the engineer basically does an analysis and sort of determines that there aren't commercially available electric systems that can meet the demands. So there does have to be, that exemption is sort of like, well, you sort of have to demonstrate that the other technologies couldn't meet that demand to get the exemption.
Could always just put more water heaters. Right?
Sounds easy.
Yeah, and it's tied into the costs as well. So there's like it's like a paragraph related to, it has to be less than 150% of these operational and installation costs compared to a fossil fuel system.
Okay.
So I think that's why we didn't list it, because it's kind of complicated to walk through, but yeah, so that is another exemption that isn't listed here.
Jake, another question that I have, you mentioned earlier that there was sort of two parts of this, the home rule implementation, and that had to do with signing a petition. And then the second part that had to do with the actual establishment of the bylaw. And as far as town meeting is concerned, if we were to endorse this, do we need to endorse both parts, or would it,
No.
a letter of endorsement to the select committee be adequate to just the home rule petition and Article 31 in the general terms?
Yeah, you just basically, if CSEC, votes to join and basically say that they support the adoption of Article 31 and town meeting voting for, citizens voting for Article 31, that includes both elements, right? So that'll trigger, if it passes, that'll trigger the select board petitioning for home rule petition for this specific issue. Then the legislature has to provide that to us. And by the way, there's three other communities that have already supported this approach. And so Rocky Mountain Institute, that we've been working with, has also been working with a variety of other communities. So Brookline, Arlington, and Lexington, I believe, have all already kind of voted on similar legislation for their communities to support this. This all came out of previously, I think Brookline tried to, they passed a bylaw, but then it was struck down by the state as not in line with state requirements. So they weren't allowed to essentially prohibit fossil fuel infrastructure. So this is the process that the communities decided to work through to essentially be able to address this issue. So it's definitely, this has been something that's been in the works for quite a while, and Concord was ready to move forward on this. The select board was supportive of a similar bylaw to what Brookline had done, and then when that was struck down, this approach was taken up. So I didn't provide that background, but this has been in process for quite some time, and unfortunately now we sort of have to take this two-step process because of the Attorney General's decision on the Brookline bylaw.
Right.
The petition part of it, does that involve citizen petition, or is it?
No, it's all it is, so there's home rule petition is basically just, it's a mechanism that towns can use to ask the legislature to allow them to handle a specific topic or program, or to essentially go beyond current state requirements. Like I don't know all of the details behind it, but it can be used in a variety of different situations. And so this is essentially asking the legislature for permission to regulate development in a way that is more restrictive than what the state has currently. And I'm not a lawyer, but that's my understanding of the process. And it's been used for other things. And so this is the strategy that Concord and these other communities are using to try and to be able to take this action. Because right now at the state level, there isn't this momentum to do this, even though we have a great climate bill that that did pass, and that is in the process of going to be implemented, and that will help support all the other work that we need to do with both terms of the zoning for new buildings, as well as the commitments that the state is making around carbon reduction.
Right.
So
Well,
Jake,
Go ahead.
to kind of summarize and put it together in my mind, it sounds like Brookline went ahead, passed an ordinance that the state then struck down. We're looking, and so this is, for us, we're going about in the other order. We're asking permission of the state to say, can we do this? And, or can we have permission to
Yes.
pass this prohibition? And then if the state says yes, then we go ahead and we do it.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the essence of this?
Yeah, and Brookline's, so they're basically, they revamped their approach and they're doing the same thing.
Okay.
And so the idea is that if enough communities, and I think there's like a dozen or so communities in Massachusetts that are all looking at this and are in different stages of working through this, that if enough communities send this signal to the state that they want to take action, the state kind of needs to take action in some way. They could decide to ignore it. But, I think that this is sending a clear signal that there are a variety of communities that want to take this action and work on reducing the emissions profile of their communities and supporting cleaner new development. So it's really the pathway for new construction that we have, given the past history. So yeah. Brad, did you have another?
Does this have to pass by 50% or a larger amount? Is it one of those things that needs a supermajority?
I don't think so. I think it's just 50%.
Okay.
So there are I have some FAQs back here, but I know I've taken a decent amount of your time. If you want, I can.
It's kind of a logical step for a committee like ours to endorse or try to promote the idea of the articles promoting. And the position that we're in right now, having heard what you had to say, Jake, is to now, Janet Miller has drafted a letter that was in line with what Gilda Gusson had requested. And I was hoping that we would be able to, then the next course of action is to review that letter and to see if it fits into what is needed in order to create a productive response prior to town meeting, so that at the town meeting, people can see that the article was moved by our CSEC group.
Like
And that would encourage more people to vote for it.
correction. I mean, Gilda did suggest that I draft a letter. She did not say what to put in it at all, but I did send my draft to her because I couldn't send it to, I couldn't ask for feedback from all of you. So I sent it to her. So she changed about one sentence. So just as a point of information.
Jana, maybe it would be an appropriate thing for you to read the letter to the group.
Maybe I do, if Jake stops sharing the screen, maybe I can try and share my screen.
I have it up on my screen if you want me to share it.
Why don't you share it? So I think it's
Okay.
better than trying to read it.
I
Okay.
just stopped sharing so you guys can.
Okay, let me see if I can get to it.
And we're also the CAB is also working on a letter. You know, we're already obviously supporting Article 31. We helped kind of, you know, the select board, I think has already said they're supporting it. The light board is already supporting it. We're supporting it. And I know Mothers Out Front has been doing a lot of outreach, and there's a pledge. I can share the website. I don't know if you guys have seen the website. It has some FAQs on it, and Kate has been working on FAQs. So I think, you know, all of this is going to be helpful in getting the word out. I think that's the big piece for us, is like making sure we get the word out, get the vote out, and answer any people who have questions and are, you know, maybe have some concerns, try and answer those questions so that they can feel hopefully good about supporting the article. So I'm sorry for jumping in there, but just wanted to let you know kind of what we've been working on.
How do people feel?
Can I just say the two things that Gilda asked me to say was to say a little bit more about air pollution, and I don't know if I said enough, you know, indoor air pollution. And the other thing was to put the link into the one you're talking about, Jake. So it's in there at the bottom. So we can't see it all, but we can.
Well, I can scroll it through.
Right, but people don't read that fast.
Okay.
But you know, everybody in the committee should have seen it because I sent it to you. But wanted to discuss it at the meeting. So did anybody have any comments about it for a start? Hi, Gilda.
Hey, Janet.
Hi, Gilda.
Hi, everyone.
Gilda,
Hi.
want to say something?
I didn't want to barge in, but yeah. So when you're ready, I guess the committee has to decide to endorse it first. But then I would love it if people could actually go to the website and pledge their support for this. Oh, great. So if you go to, if we're going to do this now, then, so here's a situation. Because we're all virtual, really the way that we need to get out the vote is to spread it via word of mouth, like with the people that we know, with the people that we work with, the people that we volunteer with, our neighborhoods. And that's the way that we're going to get enough people to town meeting to ensure that this passes. So what we've done is created this pledge on the Yes on 31 website where people list their name, you know, pledge to vote yes. And then that list, if you say that you're willing, and everyone but one person have said they are, the list of supporters is posted on the website. And in the case of CSEC, having CSEC supporters will help, I think, because people know that you you know, that you know something about what you're talking about in this arena. So I think that that would be great. So if people are willing to just take a few minutes now, it's the website is carbonfreeconcord.org.
The link is in the draft of the letter.
Well,
So
Right there.
it's right there. So anybody who has the draft of the letter, which you all do, did I send it to you, Jake? I don't know whether I did.
I guess I'd like to take a step back and make a proposal that CSEC as a committee support Article 31, which I don't think we've done this year, and I think is necessary for us to continue the discussion.
Right.
I'm
I'll second that.
solid supporter of it, and would welcome a second
I will second it.
and a vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Okay. Sounds like the ayes took it. I think that the objective is to move whether or not have for somebody to make a motion, well, to have a further discussion about the contents of this letter and see if we're in alignment with what it says as being appropriate for what we want to actually endorse. And if we do agree that it is what we want to endorse, then to use this as the template for the CSEC support letter.
What I would like to see is it sent to the Concord Journal as to be published there for a start. I mean, it could be sent out to your email list as well, but my idea was that it would go to the Concord Journal.
I think the letter should say something to the extent that our experience having, it's mostly about retrofitting, but that we know this is possible and affordable. I don't know, that would strengthen the letter. It's not like something that's ridiculously expensive or something. Is that?
Don't we have a procedural issue here in the sense that either we edit the letter exactly right now in this meeting, or we can't do it?
Till the next meeting, you mean?
Right, till the next meeting. The next meeting.
That'll be too late.
Yeah.
Can we
So-
deputize Brad and Janet to work together to get something that they find acceptable? And can we pre-approve that we'll approve whatever they come up with?
You
Well,
can do that, as long as it's not changing the message. It might
Right. We
be-
trust that you two will do a good job.
I think what I've done before in a similar situation is, as you say, deputize someone to make some edits, and we specify what the edits are generally. So
High level.
that the editor doesn't have entirely free reign. They're constrained. So we could, I think, say something like add a paragraph in the introduction describing the fact that we know this is all doable, and then let them, and the motion then enables them to wordsmith that into the letter. I
Oh.
think that something like that would work.
What we could do, if you're going to add a paragraph, it's going to make it too long to be a letter, but it could be a guest commentary, which allows 500 words rather than 300 words. So,
Okay.
Glad you know that, Janet, because I sure wouldn't have known that.
I know
Yeah.
because I've written letters and guest commentaries to the Concord Journal before.
What's the length of this, Janet?
It's very close to 300 words.
I thought it was pretty accurate and to the point. I didn't see anything in it that jumped out at me as being
Bless you.
contrary to what we would
So
be trying to convey.
I
I think we could,
wants to add affordability.
Effectiveness and affordability.
I think that when I listened to the the public hearing that was made and there were public comments, one of the areas that I certainly heard people talking about was they were in, even though there may have been testimony to its affordability, there were a lot of people that felt that the technology was new enough so that going to a full electrification strategy was less certain than what they were used to. But you would expect that in a transitionary time.
Well, I think the gas companies, they put out so much propaganda about gas is good, gas is cheap, going to electric is unreliable. I mean, you name it, I think they've said it, including sending out booklets, for kiddie booklets to the Cambridge schools, was full of propaganda for gas. So, we've got to overcome that negativity from.
Yeah, one area that, I've had to deal with in my work with it, to the extent that I've been involved with it, is peak time requirements and being able to prepare a home or a residence to be able to heat and cool not only at the average times but at the peak times, and that's where there's always a need for some kind of backup supply in the event that there's a problem, and to that end that can be expensive.
I disagree. I mean, since I live in a house that is 100% electric with insulation, I don't have any backup.
But Doug does have a point.
I have a space heater in the basement, but it lives in the basement and is never switched on. I mean, I never bring it upstairs to switch it on. That's a myth we have to overcome.
I'm not sure it is a myth. I think it's on the cold. Usually you design for the 97.5 percentile. 2.5% of the time your system's not quite big enough. You're a little cold, you're a little warm in winter or summer, and you put up with it because you'd have to double the size of your system to get that extra, 2% of the time. Florida was the first to put heat pumps all around. And when you get the very cold days, you can't get as much heat out of the outside and they become less efficient. So I think there's still a concern that if we have a prolonged cold period and everybody with heat pumps, if we do convert to everybody having heat pumps, and then we have a long cold period and everybody's using their backup KW resistance heat kicks in, we could be in trouble. And that happened in Florida 20 years ago. I mean, because they saturated the state with heat pumps. They're like, that's all you need. It doesn't get that cold. But if it does get cold every once in a while. And one year, Florida became a winter peaking state because they had a prolonged cold period and all of the backup resistance heat kicked in, and you could run out of power on a very cold winter day. So right now it's not very much of the market, and if all of us put on our electric resistance heat backup, it wouldn't make much difference. But if we succeed in it becoming the predominant fuel, it is something that we'll need to keep in mind.
But the heat pumps are so much more efficient than they were.
They are, but they become less efficient at colder temperatures. Yep.
And at those colder temperatures, the cost of electricity goes up because they're less efficient.
Well, and not just less efficient, but more importantly, less capacity. Anyway, enough about that. Hopefully live to have that problem.
That isn't,
And then we'll-
despite all
Look at
that,
batteries and thermal storage.
I don't know. I mean, Concord Riverwalk, we're all electric. I think to ask around. I mean, if the heating system fail, then you obviously have to get your resistance heaters out. But I mean, literally mine lives in storage in the basement. I haven't used it for years.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think mine kicked on this entire winter. I've got the heat pump with the electric resistance backup, and I don't think it used. don't
I
think
mean,
it
just
was
because
charged.
we're endorsing it doesn't mean that we can't tackle the question of affordability still. I
Right.
mean,
And just 'cause,
I
something
think the
isn't
question
perfect,
about
like
affordability,
every solution creates a new problem, right? So we realize this may not be completely perfect, but it's a huge improvement.
that's right. I agree. But to try to put a defensive about affordability into the letter, to me, may be a little obsessive.
Yeah, I think the letter is good as written. I mean, I was trying to figure out a way of making it more powerful by saying, we've been working on this for a long time, but we've mainly been working on retrofits. So it's not really the right thing anyway. And retrofits often need backup. So it's kind of almost an argument against. We're aware of so many new buildings, and we know that properly designed, it's doable and affordable. So maybe we just leave it as it is and put the letter in.
How do others feel about that?
In my view is that if you're talking about new construction, the question of affordability is sort of a theoretical exercise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's new construction, so there's nothing new in Concord that's built under $1 million. Unless you're talking about, 40B housing. So, does it add 1% extra? Maybe, right?
Yeah, so it's often apples versus oranges too, because
Yeah.
the spec houses that get built, the builders want to do the cheapest thing they can possibly do, and they hire their brother who puts in a cheap furnace. And to do heat pumps right, you can't do the cheapest thing you want to do.
No, that's true. I agree with you, Brad. And I think you'll get the real estate people who say, oh, people are not going to buy or build or whatever. And I think the fact is that has been demonstrated to be false.
Yeah.
Well, does anybody want to make a motion to proceed with the letter as it is?
Didn't we just vote on that?
We did.
Well, we voted to we didn't vote to sign this particular letter. We might as well do that. We voted to support the article.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So,
I'll
those
move.
in- Okay.
I moved that we submit this letter as written to the Concord Journal.
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that comes with committee and names of committee members?
Yes.
Byline? Okay.
Great.
Now, from a process point of view, Janet, what do you need in order to get this out to the right audience?
Well, if it goes to the Concord Journal, and it will be published. I mean, if I submit it tomorrow, it will be in next week's paper.
Does it need to go at all into something that goes to the select board?
No.
No. This is
Okay.
strictly to the Concord Journal, and it can be
Okay.
signed. I can add each one of our names
Okay.
and put, if I sign it, Comprehensive Sustainability and Energy Committee, and then list our names.
Does there need to be anything that is an insert that is at town meeting that indicates that we've endorsed it?
there are no inserts or handouts at town meeting, is my understanding.
But at town meeting, somebody from CSEC can get up and say CSEC supports this article.
I think
Committee.
what will happen is the moderator will just say that. I don't know that they're gonna welcome a lot of people talking to it.
That's true.
So town meeting is outside this year, right?
I think
And
so.
it's short, it's shorter.
Shorter and outside, I think.
It's going to be outside. It's going to be on the artificial turf fields. And I
Well,
pray that it's not going to be a hot day.
what is needed to get the moderator to indicate that it was endorsed by us?
Let's send a copy to the moderator.
Can you do that, Janet?
Sure. I can do that.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so if it's okay, I'll be really quick. So if you would like to do this, can you take a couple minutes right now to go to carbonfreeconcord.org and pledge your support individually for the article?
Can we do that right after the meeting individually?
He wants you to do it now.
You know, we all have a
Okay.
long to-do list, so if we could just get it done, that would be fabulous. Because it really
What's the name of the
helps.
site?
Yep.
I
That's
don't,
Carbonfreeconcord.org, okay.
I don't think we have a live link, Gilda.
No. I think everyone has to use their own computers.
Right. I've already pledged, so I don't need to.
Right. So so if everyone uses their own computer to go to this page, then that would be great. And once you plug in your name and contact info, it's going to ask you if you'd be willing to share this information or help someone, help get out the vote in other ways. And you can say yes or no, but having your support is great.
Guys, I need to sign off, but just wanted to say thank you. And Gilda, I have already signed the pledge, so
I
thanks for.
saw your
Right.
name. Thank you,
And I
Jake.
made sure that the cab members knew about it. I walked through it for them. So hopefully we'll get a lot more cab members. If you guys have any questions, sorry for the technical glitches at the beginning there, but if you have any questions or need anything else from me or, as you're going through this, please just shoot me an email or reach out and I'll get back to you. Have a good rest of your meeting, everyone. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Gilda, what is the plan for getting people to show up? Is a reminder phone call or just emails or what?
So there'll be a reminder email. And if we have a sense of, what the time is going to be for this vote, we'll let people know that. But,
Okay.
I think that if we can get, a couple hundred supporters out, then that would be really good. It's not like we have to have the whole town, but we are going to have those numbers at least, I think.
Are you gonna bring the sign? It's asking if we'd be willing to put a lawn sign out.
Huh. This has changed. I have to sign this.
Well, we added lawn signs. So I'm sorry, Doug, what was your question?
If we say yes to getting a lawn sign, are there somebody gonna come by and put a lawn sign in our lawn?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, not without contacting you, but yes.
no, it's okay. It's just whatever.
Yeah,
There's not much time between now and the meeting.
right. Just a few weeks. The other thing is that the website has a lot of information, as as Jake was saying. And if you want, there are 2 action Rs that are coming up. And they're, Janet, can you go to the homepage?
A month is up front.
Yeah, of this website that you're on right now.
Well, it's Doug that's sharing the
Oh, Doug.
me, so I can't.
To the Mothers Out Front website?
No, to the Yes on 30, the same website where the pledge is. Can you share it? Or, okay, that's fine. Okay, and then if you go to the home page, there's a little white. I just want to show you and scroll down a little bit, you will see where you can sign up for the action Rs that are coming up right here. So there's one on Sunday where Alice Kaufman will present, and then there's one on Wednesday at noon where Gary Kleiman will present.
And they're just going to go over Article 31 and what it involves?
Yes, and it address questions. I mean, you had a more comprehensive discussion because people, have thought more deeply about this. But yeah, so that's the plan.
Something I found very helpful was the public, there was a public hearing link to the meeting that Jake and Kate ran that I sent out earlier. But
Okay.
it gives a good overview of Article 31 too.
Well, if you have the link and want to
Here's
send,
the link. Let me just get to the link. It's got it right here.
well,
It's right here.
okay. Okay.
So it's a YouTube link.
Great. Well, I was just going to say that I can post it on the website since you thought it was helpful. So if you could just send it to me on it separately, that would be great. Just the link.
Okay.
Thank you. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for your support. And yeah, let's do this.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hold on. Sorry.
This is,
That's part of it.
what is this about? Are we going to watch a video? Or?
No. If you want more background, this is where you can get it.
Was this
And that's the link right there.
where you could send us a link if you?
Here, let me just send it out to everybody right now. Hold on. I already sent it out when I forwarded the stuff. I don't want to take up the time now, but I'll send the link to everybody.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. So the next thing that we've got on the agenda has to do with
Studies.
Case studies.
right, and I'm just gonna go till I find. Here we go. Okay. This was, why don't I share with you, first of all, this is the website where
Oh, nice.
Kate has posted them. And
I have a question on this. Did we ask people, request folks that their name be put on the website?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, that was one of the things that Kate was requiring us to get
I
permission.
didn't see that in the questionnaire. So I mean, I've been having a challenge just coordinating my time with my next door neighbor, believe it or not. Whenever I have a chance to go and I go and see him, I'm going to send him an email. I think that's the easiest way. We talked about it, but we never got a chance to set up and do it. And as you know, Brad, since Ed is an engineer, he kept meticulous data.
I know.
Here's Brad's house.
Yeah.
These are the PDFs.
Now,
Now,
by the way,
okay.
this picture of the house shows you the problem that I have. You notice the ridge line melted
Yep.
in this picture.
So
So
the heat loss there.
trying to fix that. But yeah. Good.
But
So-
each of the PDFs is reachable by clicking on the thing on the bottom. But I think Kate indicated to me that she was going to reformat this so it was a little easier to use.
Yeah. So where is this? What is that link? Oh, heat pump case studies. Good. Great. How many of them are there?
Oh, this
Right
is-
now, there's 7 of them there. And I wanted to go through, that's why I have the spreadsheet here. This is the list of the ones that we said we were going to do. And let me just, oops.
Maybe you can make it a little smaller.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
There you go.
So the ones that we had a yes on were the ones that were going to be done. So maybe we'll just do a check-in about each of the ones that we're going to do a yes on. Brian Folds was one that Karen was going to work on.
Yes, and I'm having trouble reconnecting with him, but I've written up
Are
maybe.
you still a yes on that?
Yes, yeah, still a
okay.
good. Yeah.
And Brad, you had one for the Arnud.
I just got too busy. I'd like to do that.
How
I'm not
long do you
sure.
want to care? What I had imagined when I talked to Kate about this originally, she wanted to kind of be done by the end of June
Yeah.
in terms of what was possible. So I didn't want to drag it on too far, but I also think if they're being used and they're helpful, then it's very beneficial.
Right. So I'm not sure about the R nodes.
Yeah, I'm going to put a question mark in there. What about
That was
Scott Richardson? We had a question mark about before, so no one. Jerry,
Yeah,
you
that was me.
no.
I unfortunately was not able to get to that. And
Okay.
I talked to Kate about it earlier this week or into last week, I think. And she suggested that she thinks she has enough case studies, or at least enough in the works, that she didn't feel a need for extra ones. Because what I had offered to her is that if we still need it, I'll do it, even though I haven't gotten to it. But she seemed to think she's got enough, so we
good.
can leave a no there.
Okay. Sharon has that one done. Gary Kleinman. Karen, what about that one?
I think I will do well to get the one done that I'm working on, but if
I'll just put a no. That's all right. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, we're not going to do Bouja.
You know what? Bouja already has an interview that came from the Heat Smart thing, and the Heat Smart videos are right below the case
Yeah.
study.
And same with the R nodes. So let's put a no there. You did,
And
David?
I'm like in process. So
Okay.
I've written it, but it hasn't been approved yet.
Okay.
So I say yes on that. Tom Tarpey is done.
Good.
Is Kate in charge of that section of the site?
Yes,
Can we tell her there is a typo, big time?
yes.
Which one?
Joseph Mueller?
Mueller?
Yeah, it's Mueller. It's not M-E-U, it's M-U-E.
Yes, that is correct.
Kind of a problem.
Yeah, if any of you can proof any of the stuff that's on the web, I'm sure it would be beneficial to help her. Maybe just try to go through and read the ones that are on the web. Okay, Allison and Tom Alley. Julie.
Yeah,
where-
I wrote it up a while ago, had trouble getting her to respond, but she responded yesterday and said fine. I sent it over to Kate and Kate said fine. So that one, that one's 90% done. Yeah, we can say done. It just has one final approval from the.
So
ladies.
we're waiting for the candidate approval.
Final approval, yeah, but it's.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, great.
Paul Jameson.
Well, Jameson, I reached out to him way bit back, and I didn't hear anything back, and I sent another email, still didn't hear back. And then a couple of weeks ago, he did reply, and he said he was interested, and I haven't had time.
Do you want to just say no on that one?
No, I mean, he was interested in doing it, so
Okay,
if there's a need for another one, I can
Yeah.
do it.
okay. Jim Terry, Janet, that was another one.
Approved
Done, that's already
a
done.
long time ago.
Yeah. Okay, that's it.
That's it, you have in the list with it?
I thought we had one year on here too. For
There was
Lisa.
one for Ed.
Yeah, right here,
Right
Annie.
here. That's still
Oh.
on, I'll send him an email and I'll do it via email. We're going to meet to discuss it, but I'll do it via email.
Yeah.
Okay, but what I was gonna say, there's a couple here. What about this one? Laura Davis.
Laura Davis, she was interested, and then I think she just got totally so busy that she wasn't replying to me.
What about Linda Neiman, Brad?
I never connected with her.
Okay, I'm just gonna
Todd
put-
Benjamin is done. It's not on the website.
Where is that on here?
That's right there.
Okay,
That was
that's done.
And I don't, so they didn't put it on the website yet.
Maybe she's waiting candidate permission. I'm gonna just say waiting here.
He gave the permission and sent, so she has all this stuff. He gave permission and sent a couple minor corrections and a photo.
Okay,
They just haven't had time to put it on there yet.
so I'm just gonna put waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Kim Slack, that's not gonna happen. And,
There's already there is already one testimonial that he did for NEEP. They can put that on there.
okay,
We didn't, yeah, okay. I think we say no on some of these. Yeah,
I think we're good. All these ones are done too.
good. So yeah, I think these are good. These are, we should be,
One impression that I had was they're kind of hidden away. It's like they're not very, if you don't have the URL, you're not gonna find them.
Yeah, I had the same feeling.
Yeah, but that's a general problem with the Concord website.
well, Concord Clean Comfort. If you go to concordcleancomfort.org, does it get you the,
Here's the Concord website and here's it's in here, but if you don't know this, you're not gonna find them.
You can do it in search, but then you can do it in the search, right? From the
Yeah.
home page.
Yeah,
There's a lot we can do as individuals. I mean, we can post things on Facebook, on Twitter, and No.
Right.
People can get what
Is
that-
there any possibility that, you know, as part of this plan, this program, you know, now that we've created them, they'll be on the website. Is there any desire to promote them or to copy them or print them and make them available at the library, or I don't know, something like that?
I have to ask Kate. I'm not aware of those, but
Like, do we want to promote the case studies at all so that there is a way that people can find out more about it?
I think we should. I mean, why do that? They're not
right.
hidden on the website.
Like, we put a lot of effort into it, but what are we going to do with them?
Yeah, good idea.
Good question.
Yeah, I think that's,
Even for September, that would be something that would be conceivably, or July and August, that could be something to think about.
yeah, we need
I think
Kate
had
to be involved in
plans,
that
but I'm
discussion
not sure.
directly, but I think, yeah, we need to find a way to make this more visible one way or another.
Like, we could do a newsletter maybe?
Oh,
Yeah, I think a newsletter would be good for this.
Well, bill inserts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we should include Kate in this conversation because I think
Yeah.
she already has a lot of ideas and plans.
Yeah.
for Bill and Janicetti would have to be involved, of course.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, we're not going to print case studies and stick them into bills. It's a question of, yeah.
Something.
But it could just, you know, a bill insert could just draw people's attention to the fact that, you know, your neighbors are talking about this. They've done it. If you want to find out, go to this web, you know, go to our website and then
Yeah.
you can read them. You know, you're right. You're not going to print them and put them in the bills, but you could guide people to them via the website.
I guess, you know, this really, even though this is mostly retrofits, kind of goes along with Article 31. If we were to say, write something for next door, we'd say, you know, in support of that, you can say, listen, there's a lot of homes that are already doing this. Here's a whole bunch of case studies, and just put a link to that site. That might be a little effective.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting that for a newsletter, Brad?
Well, newsletter or social media post.
Right.
I mean, next door, I mean, I
What is the website you've been working on, Brad?
It could be, it could go in there. We haven't really worked on that in a little while.
Because you could create a link. One of the problems with the Concord website is that if you do a search in their banner that takes up 3/4 of the page, I'm not sure, I never understood why that is the case, but, you know,
Yeah.
right, if you click there,
Yep.
you have a search here, and I mean, usually the way it renders, it takes the whole page and search. I'm not sure, what browser are you using?
Chrome.
The one that comes from Google.
Okay, so that's Chrome.
Chrome,
I see
right.
it,
yeah.
Chrome.
Okay. If you do a search here for heat pump, just put heat pumps.
Good luck.
Okay, it's just, yeah, I mean, the interesting part is, why does it render an article from 2016?
Yeah, and if you wanted to find like that homepage that we
Yeah, I
just
mean,
were
it's
on,
very hard to find, but I
you'll
think,
never find it.
Brad, in your website, you could put a link to case studies directly to the right page on the Concord.
Yeah.
I never know when I use the search whether any of this information is current.
Well, one thing to do that is that for the website itself to order it by most recent as opposed to random.
Yeah.
True.
Sure how you do that.
You're the webmaster.
Whoever
of
manages the
site.
website.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't have a lot more to say about the case studies, but does anybody have anything else they want to say right now?
Mine's already obsolete. 'Cause when I wrote the case study, since I wrote this case study, we actually installed a heat pump yesterday and took out our boiler. So we're totally off of gas except for the stove.
What are you going to do at peak time when it's really cold?
We're going to be just toasty warm. I'm also going to do the insulation job to fix the ridge line.
Oh, so you're going to put more roof insulation in?
Well, we're going to try. We're going to because I want to. I just want to minimize the electricity use, but I think we're going to be fine.
Okay, let's move on.
By middle of June, I will have reduced 50% my gas consumption.
Okay.
Wow, great.
Are you going to write a case study for yourself?
I can do that. I can do that potentially.
That would be great.
Middle of June, it will be 50%. That's the analysis. I went through the process with Abode and everything. So June 10th, they're installing.
Oh, great. Who's doing the install?
Net zero.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, what are we doing next?
Maybe
The thing is a follow-up discussion on Concord Goes Electric event. There may not be much to say about this, but the date changed from June and now it's in September. Do we
Right.
have any discussion of plans or events that would be coming or to be thinking about over the summer?
Not really. I can update you a little bit on this discussions we had with Jan and Kate. This was just Gilda and I and Jan and Kate talking about, not talking so much about this event, but talking about our sort of overall longer range plans of Concord Goes Electric. And there's, it looks like that Abode Energy Company, that energy management, that is our that does the coaching and approval services. Jan thinks they are working on a full decarbonization assessment for homes, which could, in principle, replace the Energy New England assessment. Because a lot of people complain that the Energy New England assessment really isn't that useful. It's kind of a big long report, and it's hard to know what to do with it. It's not. I see Sharon's nodding her head. So that could be very positive, and it could also be a big part of the work we were thinking of trying to do, is to figure out how to do a better assessment that includes the home energy scoring. So we have we're still not entirely sure what to do next, other than we need to have a talk about just focusing our citizen plus staff vision as to how we promote and make best use of all the resources we have, so that we get, so we keep all the Abode coaches busy, and we just kind of try to get as many homeowners to move forward as we can. There's also been some talk about potentially a financing program, and Kate is more on top of that than I am, because that's a barrier to certain homeowners that, because if a project is expensive, they need to be able to get a loan, and have it, a low interest loan can help get these things done. I don't have much more of an update than that, unfortunately.
Is there, in terms of rebates, this is a little off the subject, but there are incentives for heat pumps that CMLP provides, but
Yep.
there's not a federal credit for a heat pump right now, is there?
There's not.
There is, it's 26% and it was extended. It was due to expire, but it's been extended.
Oh, that's
I
great.
don't think it applies for ground source. I'm not sure if it applies to air source. Brad, do you know?
Air source, only ground
Right.
source.
Yeah,
Only ground source.
Yeah.
But that's great news. And
Yeah, but it's a much bigger investment.
it's a
Yeah.
bigger investment.
There's another benefit that I kind of forgot about when we were doing my case studies. And I was just looking at the benefits listed on the Concord website, and it doesn't mention there that there are alternative energy credits. So just like, I know many of us have solar panels and you get a solar energy credit check
Yeah.
every 3 months. There are also alternative energy credits for ground source heat pumps. And so I'm getting alternative credit.
Right. So those were kind of released a couple of years ago. And the market for alternative energy credits went in the tank. So the value of that incentive went to almost nothing, unfortunately, but that could change, I suppose. Depends what-
Yeah, like with the SRECs, you don't know what you're going to get, you know.
Right.
Are they called SRECs or are they called
They're-
alternative
They're
energy?
AEC, alternative energy credits.
Right.
And what do you have to do to be able to claim them?
Well, my installer did all that for me. They're very familiar with the rules. I was looking at the state rules, the code of
Right.
laws, and trying to figure it out. And then I realized that my installer had already done it.
And that's for solar or for something else?
Ground source heat pumps.
Oh, for ground source heat pumps. Okay.
Or air source heat pumps, but you have to be, you have to
Can't have a backup fuel, I think, is the thing I remember reading in the, which is kind of like, well, there is actually backup resistance heat.
Yeah, but it's really expensive.
Really expensive. It's like, yeah, you don't want to use it. And I don't think I have used it, but except during installation.
Does your ground source heat pump come with electric resistance as its backup system?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Dave Garrison's came with.
Well, and it was instrumental because my furnace broke. So my old furnace broke. So they were able to put in the ground source heat pump and run it in electric mode, for a week or two till we got everything connected.
Well, like Dave Garrison indicated that he'd had it for 10 years and he had used the heat resistance like twice.
Yeah.
Very, very infrequently. But it was very expensive when it did. That's all.
Okay.
Do others feel like ever confused about what the CML rebates are? I know they're all posted on the CMLP website, but is that confusing to people?
And a little confusing to me.
It's one of those things I think I should just know that, but I don't.
Well, I mean, for example, when I was trying, I put in a heat pump last summer and I got a CMLP rebate this winter for it because I was late filing for it, but I was within the year period. You have to do it within the 1 year period. But I didn't know whether I was eligible for any credits. There were tax credits, but I don't think there are any. Just
There
because, what?
Tax credits for what?
For the ground source heat pump.
For ground source heat pump?
No,
Yes,
no, for the air source heat pump.
Air source, there are no tax credit this year.
There is a state tax credit. It's that you can get. It's small.
Does anybody know whether with the Biden administration's focus on energy conservation, if there's an intention next year to develop some more kind of energy credits for that type of thing?
I don't know. So the general subject, let's go rewind to your general subject. Is everybody confused about rebates and stuff? And it is hard to keep them track. And maybe we just need a page. Maybe there just needs to be, kind of like something for the short attention span that says, here is
Like a table.
And it can be updated every time they change, and we could, maybe we need that.
There's all these
Yeah.
looping and weird contingencies that you have to keep in mind, like if you have electric heat or you have gas heat, or it's just, it gets convoluted, and I'm never always sure that I'm reading what I ought to be reading. I don't know. If I had to sit there and advise somebody else on what the rebates were, I would tell them to go to the website, and then they would get totally lost.
And I think because they changed, that's all you could do.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's not very helpful if it's just confusing people.
If we send out a newsletter that would kind of guide people to reading the case studies, as we talked about, we could also have kind of like a sort of a boxed, bullet points of like, here are the current rebates and tax credits available today to help you do these things that your neighbors have been doing.
That's a good idea.
It is a good idea. There, you could
Yeah.
put a simple summary of the
Yeah.
rebates in that with a pointer to the CMLP webpage.
Mhm,
Right.
And that would help them navigate that webpage. Just
mhm.
coming on it cold is a challenge.
Yeah. So it's like, here's what you should be doing. Here's what others are doing, and here's how to do it and how it will benefit you, all sort of in one.
Yeah, yeah.
If we wanted to actually do a mailing of a newsletter, like let's say we do that, what is our newsletter database?
Well, the cooler Concord newsletter that we have been using is in a MailChimp account.
But it's the Cooler Concord website database, right?
Well, it's disconnected from the website, but it's a separate MailChimp account that has a list of people that subscribed to it. And we haven't been
We haven't updated that in a
grow
long
the
time.
subscribing.
We don't even have a way to update it, really.
What do you mean? We can-
Well, it again brings me back around to the question that we had addressed when we were doing strategic thinking in December, when we were thinking about trying to identify target audiences for our messaging. And some of them were people that were, going to the town database and then getting the addresses of all the places that had oil heat, or,
Oh, okay. You're talking about the assessor's database.
the assessor's database. Do we want to go back and review that? Well, we're getting a little far afield. I don't mean, I apologize.
Yeah. Let's get through the other updates and
Okay, do you have anything else to say about the Concord Goes Electric event?
no.
Okay, let's go on to the next thing, the EV working group updates. Janet, is there anything
I
to be?
don't think there's anything significant to report this month.
Okay, regarding liaison updates, are there anything from CMLP or we got the CAB one regarding Article 31, so we're pretty good.
So I have a little bit from CMLP.
Or the middle school.
I'm sorry?
CMLP or the middle school. That was the other.
Yeah, I don't have anything on the middle school, but I have a little bit on CMLP. I'm embarrassed to say I've actually forgot to attend that one, but Brian Folds filled me in on it. There apparently was a big discussion about a hydro PPA, and ENE is promoting, I don't know, maybe promotion is the wrong word, but providing an opportunity to do a new PPA with the New York provider. And it's kind of interesting. Apparently the energy cost is really low, so it's very attractive, but the capacity costs are very expensive. So I don't know that they made a decision on it. I think.
What do you mean by the capacity costs on a PPA?
I assume you mean demand, is that correct? Per
I'm
month?
not
talking
sure.
about transmission.
No, it's not transmission. So the energy cost is just what do you pay on a per kilowatt hour basis. The capacity cost is a payment to make sure that that energy will be there when you call for it.
Okay.
So it's a power thing, not really an energy thing. Is the way I think about it.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I don't fully understand how the capacity market works. The energy market's a little easy to understand. You use a kilowatt hour, you pay for a kilowatt hour. But the capacity part is, I think, sort of the planning to make sure there's enough power available so that everyone can get their kilowatt hour when they want their kilowatt hour.
And there's a premium for that?
In this case, yeah. I mean, it's a separate, these are market constructs. And just as an aside, this is one of the problems that happened to Texas. They don't have a capacity market. They just have an energy market. So there was no guarantee that any of that power would be there when it was called for in February. Whereas in New England, we have a capacity market. And basically we make payments to, as I understand it, we make payments to providers to build a power plant that'll be there when we need it.
Okay, interesting.
Those are like insurance. Insurance, you have the power.
Yeah, except in this case, that insurance has a physical plant behind it, or it should. One other thing about from the CMLP meeting is a advanced meeting, AMI advanced AMI metering infrastructure was on the agenda. They didn't get to it because I think the discussion on the New York power proposal ran long. So that's about all I have to report.
Okay.
What are they trying to do with the advanced metering? What's the direction they're moving in?
I think it's to support time of use rates.
You mean, in other words, so they can plan for peak, they can plan so that people can use power at off-peak times?
Well, yeah, the idea generally is that with time of use rates, there'll be an economic incentive for users to plan their energy consumption when the rates are low, namely at night, and to avoid consumption when the rates are high, which are during periods of peak demand. As a curious aside, Con Edison in New York, they'll actually pay you money if you charge your EV at night. Not just a better rate, they pay you.
So does CMLP, they give you a $10, they give you a credit on your bill.
Yeah, that's minor compared to what New York does.
What about, I thought there was something about giving a special rate for users of air source heat pumps.
I don't know anything about that.
So there is an air source heat pump rate, but you have to have
a special setup, right?
you have to have your own, you have to put in a special meter, and nobody's doing that because the AMI is they're going to install a smart meter in all of your homes.
Yeah.
And that's going to allow you to plan around it and either conserve electricity or use it at the right time.
Yeah.
Is it a program that people are going to have to sign up for, or is everybody going to get it?
Everybody's going to get it except the people who were worried about the radiation.
That's a more interesting result than I was going to say.
Okay.
Jerry, is the middle school, is it net zero now finally, or what is the proposal on the table now? Because it was a very confusing article in Concord Journal.
Oh, when was the article? I didn't see that.
There was an article about the cost and the selectmen capping it at 100 million or something.
Oh, yeah. I did see that.
There was a sentence. There was one sentence at the end only,
Yeah.
and
So-
I was not clear on that.
I don't have a very up-to-date answer, But last I understood, Kate Hanley was to work with Dave Wood at CMLP to come up with a plan for making the building net zero. Right now, strictly speaking, and the CMS folks would be unhappy with the way I say this, but this is the way I look at it. Right now, the building is not net zero.
Right.
It is what they're,
Ironic with Article 31, right?
well,
The largest expenditure the town is going to make, and it's not net zero.
well, the way the building committee for CMS, rightly or wrongly, the way they went about it is they basically said net zero is not our job. That's CMLP's job. We'll make it net zero ready.
Right.
We'll get it ready with all the conduits in place and making sure the building is very efficient, but actually making it net zero, meaning the building produces energy. That's someone else's problem. That's CMLP's problem. And so to work this out, a town manager said, Kate, you and Dave Wood work on this to come up with a plan for implementing, for making sure that the building is in fact net zero when it's built. So Kate could give us an update. I don't know the latest, but that's the way things were set up.
Did that imply that the maintenance and the running and the management of the solar array and all the things that made it net zero would be, the cost of that would be in a cost center run by CMLP?
Yeah,
Right.
right. CMLP would be responsible either directly or indirectly for all maintenance
Yeah, that's a pretty big expense.
and all income and expenses related to the power generation.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a legitimate way to do it. I just wasn't very happy because I wanted the building committee to make a stronger statement. And the far as they would go would be net zero ready.
Right. That's what you get for the $100 million. And,
Yeah. Well, the curious part.
But Article 31 talks about all new constructions. How are we qualifying that now? Because that's a loophole basically that CMS is using.
This will be fossil fuel free. That's
So
what Article 31 is about.
They would be following that guideline.
Yeah. So they follow that guideline just fine.
Yeah, right. It's just, it's not net zero because they're not in the original or initial plans. The plans don't include energy generation. So you would need that energy generation to get to net zero.
Yeah. Okay.
So the next thing that we had on our agenda was a brief review of the town meeting. This came from Janet. She wanted to make sure that we were aware that there were other articles that had to do with our sustainability commitments. And you want to talk to that for a few minutes, Janet?
Sure. I have to admit that all I know is what I read in the warrant. But basically,
I have that warrant article right
and
here.
I've got it in front of me. I don't need to go into it in any detail. The Article 35 is amending the tree preservation bylaw. With the tree preservation, it protects trees within the setback area of properties when they're developed, when they're sold. If the construction hasn't happened within a year, as the law stands, there's no penalty if you, but if the construction, this is making a change so that if it hasn't been completed, then the trees are still protected. So basically, it's keeping more trees present. And I don't know whether it's important enough for us to endorse it, but every tree to me is good.
The next was Article 39, earth removal.
Right, and that, it's a lot of, lot of adding detail to that. Right now, there is a bylaw about earth removal. It doesn't say anything about filling in, so it changes it to filling in as well as removal. And it defines a whole lot of definitions, you know, what is dust, what is noise, what is odor, what is sound, what's a steep slope, etc., etc. And
I think it also ties the issuance of any special permits to actual measurable and sustainable objectives. So there's a lot of language in the
right,
that's being added about minimizing changes in the contours or effective drainage, suitable gradients, and then a number of things put in there specifically to protect health and human welfare, dust pollution, noise pollution.
Who's sponsoring it?
Planning board.
planning board.
Right. It's a bit of a reaction to the fact that that the 1442 Main Street project got past the planning board and it's going to be voted on by the zoning board of appeals. And there is, you know, you got to get a special permit to move more than 1,000 cubic yards. And they're going to move 60,000 cubic yards for that development. And they're asking for the permit. And I think it's a shame because it's such a beautiful piece of property, but
What does it have to do with us?
what does it have to do with us? If we want to get in the business of I don't know, making
Trees are good. Sequester carbon.
I mean, yeah, trees are good, exactly. I mean, if you cut
No,
down,
trees are good. That's the other one.
cut down 8 acres of mature trees, that's a
And
lot
the
of
earth removal.
concentration. And the amount of the energy required to move 2,500 trucks carrying the earth, etc., it's a lot. And if you don't know what 1442 project will entail, is basically flattening the hill that goes from Main Street down to the ride out playground. So from Main Street, you'll be able to see the tracks, which are actually elevated, and ride out playground won't have all those beautiful trees behind it, apart from anything else. It's a, I don't know, there's a petition to block it, and I know they've got a lot of signatures. I don't know, got at least 150 signatures petitioning the zoning board of appeals not to do it, but that's nothing to do with this article.
right.
Okay.
So
What about neonicotinoid prohibition
Well,
on new?
neonicotinoids, that's a very small change. It's to ban, I mean, we have no control over what happens on private land, but we do have control of what happens on town land. And so what this is saying is if any new leases on town land cannot use neonicotinoid pesticides. And if you don't know what neonicotinoids are, they're systemic pesticides. They go into every part of the plant, including the pollen. And this kills bees, basically. Certainly weakens them and
Right.
die off of bees. It's right now, it will affect the land behind White Pond because that land is now town owned. And
Oh, okay.
Merrill Farm was farming the fields, Plainfield Road.
So this sort of falls in the camp of sustainable neighborhood.
I mean, it's sustainable sustainable insect life.
Well,
Really, I mean, the bee, maintaining the bee population is rather important.
right. Insects and plants.
Insects. and
Um,
plants.
Did you see Mark Hansen's presentation on it at the Concord Canned Coffee?
I did, yes.
He showed the pie chart of the sort of fractions of different species of bumblebees. And the bumblebees, there used to be a bunch of different species, different slices of the pie chart, and now it's just one species plus a tiny fraction of these others. And in a lot of cases, each species of bee is co-evolved with a certain species of plants that it knows that it's able to pollinate. And so if you've managed to drive to extinction certain species of bees, you may do the same with certain native plants.
Vice versa.
Important.
Yes,
Uh,
and it's very well said. So when that's summary of the
Is there any sense that these won't pass at town meeting?
I have no idea, but
You just vote yes for them.
I think they'll pass.
should CSAC endorse them? Do we want to vote to say we endorse this article and tell the moderator that is what we want to do?
Shall I make a motion that we endorse the article?
Which one?
Well, my 2 cents are that while I'm sympathetic to this, I haven't seen the motion, not the motion, I haven't seen the article.
Hmm.
And I'll speak for myself. I don't feel comfortable voting for something if I haven't seen
Right.
it, studied it, at least to some extent.
Right.
I'd take it to a vote. I mean, I think we know enough that these neonicotinoids are, really, really bad for bees. Just simply put, that's it. The only thing is, I don't know whether it's within our purview to vote on this. I don't know whether it comes in our sort of under our umbrella. But other than that, I would say, why wouldn't we? Well,
Right.
Sustainable neighborhoods, we're sort
Right.
of, that's within our purview.
yeah.
We're the sustainability committee, right? That's in the name.
I sort of think we should vote on the things that are on things that are important, and we should, and it should mean something. And Article 31, of course, fell into that category. I wouldn't be tempted to vote on tree preservation bylaw because I don't understand the difference between this one. I don't understand enough about how that bylaw is working and what it's regulating, and it's going to pass or fail or not pass regardless of whether we support it, I think. I don't know.
It's pretty marginal.
Yeah.
Well, we're running out of time, so what do you want to do?
Well,
Hey.
Janet, you brought it up. I mean, you're following this. What would you like us to do? Anything? Nothing?
Be aware.
I just wanted to mention these exist and ask, well, should we do anything or not? And I think the earth removal is probably beyond our mandate to be interested in.
Yeah.
The neonicotinoids, I think that's the one. If we're going to endorse one, that will be it. The tree, the tree preservation order is pretty marginal. I mean, I don't know how many trees it would affect in a year, but it's not a big change.
Would you write another letter that would be like endorsing the change, and then you would implement it the same way?
I don't think I want to do that.
Right. I mean, we got to write letters about stuff we really understand.
I mean, we can all vote for it individually when we go to a town meeting.
Yeah.
Of course, but the moderator can say, CSAC supports this article when she introduces the articles, I guess.
What do we need to do to get the moderator to do that?
I don't feel strongly either way, but as individuals, we should all vote for these things.
Okay.
And
I
just
propose not to vote on it.
going to town
Okay.
meeting, right?
Okay. Should we move along? Public comment? Any public comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to share with people in case you weren't aware that Bill Gates has written a book that's sort of recently published, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. It's pretty good reading. The only thing I saw that I didn't like was he said heat pumps, where they're used, where you can use them. And I'm like, they have cold climate heat pumps. You could use them anywhere.
What's it called?
It's called How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. Oh, Janet's got it. I've got it on Libby.
This is by Michael Mann, who was actually very critical of Bill Gates' book.
It is kind of high level.
Michael Mann is a climate scientist who's had all sorts of flack over the years. So, it's the new climate war, the fight to take back our planet. And to be quite honest, I'm about to start reading it.
Yeah.
So there you've got your
I've
book
heard
recommendations.
Things about it.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
a quick piece of news I just want to make sure everyone's aware of. There was a very interesting announcement from Ford this week. I don't know how everyone heard it, but they've announced an all electric version of the F-150 pickup. I didn't realize that it was far and away the best-selling automobile in the US, far and away, supposedly 3 times more than any other truck or car.
Wow.
And what was interesting about this is I happened to see this on the Rachel Maddow show. This was her top story. And her point, and the reason I'm bringing it up here is, her point is that this will get interest not because it's electric, but because it's better than the gasoline version. And she went through the reasons why it's going to appeal to the folks who tend to buy those pickups. And I thought that this is very interesting because the angle that she's suggesting, and it's probably the angle Ford is counting on, is these will not be altruistic purchases. These will be feet on the ground purchases of contractors looking at this and saying, I can do my job better with this truck than the others. And that's a big deal, I think. So just wanted to share that news in perspective.
They got
What type of mileage do they have?
publicity about it because Joe Biden took it for a test drive.
Right.
Which
Yeah, and it's 0 to 60 time is astonishing for a truck.
for a truck.
But I think that will emphasize the problem with the charging stations, right? Because the vast majority of the buyers are places where of Ford F-150s are places where you can hardly find any charging stations.
Right. But the truck has a 300-mile range.
Yeah.
So yeah, there'll be some who I even have a friend who's commented on that, the very same thing. If he's an electrician, can't use it, because sometimes I'm going to drive more than that. But there are others who won't, who's the areas they work in, they won't drive 300 miles a day.
Well, let's put it this way. All the people that do not need a pickup truck, but do buy one would probably now have a moral justification. Like 80% of the people do not need a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Yep.
My father's already been to a Ford dealership to look at them.
So,
They don't have them on.
That's right. They're not there yet.
Okay.
Okay, well, thanks, everybody. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Yep.
Second.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we'll see you at town meeting. I guess that's the next place, right?
Yeah. And let's thank Doug for for being the chair, because he's not going to be the chair anymore. Didn't get to be in that chair.
That's a happy laugh.
And,
How much help do you need between now and the next meeting, Jared?
Oh. Probably a lot. I'm not sure what I'm getting myself into.
The only thing that I can say is make sure to get the agenda in to Kate the Monday before the meeting, because if you don't, there won't be a meeting.
Yeah, I
Right.
that one I've
Once,
learned.
didn't it, Doug? That happened once, right? That we had to,
Right.
it only takes once, and then, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes once
And
a-
a big kudos to Julie for being the secretary or the clerk. Thank you so much,
Oh, no.
Julie. I can't tell you how much it meant to me.
No.
okay.
Yeah,
And the
thank you both.
rest
I'm looking forward to the new year and bear with me.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.